and in this video I'm just quickly going to go over ReCap Photo so you can do the photogrammetry. It's really easy. This is basically the old Autodesk 123D catch system, and they've built it all into this software, so you can get your free student version from Autodesk. And so that's Autodesk ReCap, and all you really need to do here is get your photos. These are from an SLR, so I get a much higher quality, higher resolution mesh from SLR photos rather than smartphone apps for photogrammetry and that sort of thing. I also use a software called Agisoft Photo Scan, but that's not free. It's about $100. So you can grab Autodesk ReCap on your own computer at home, because we don't have them in the lab. We don't have it in the lab. And you'll see my photos. Some of them are funny. It's my grandma here that I did a couple of years ago. These are old photos from 2014. Just went right around. Now this isn't ideal. There's lots of different changing lights and that sort of thing, but I didn't really care about that. And also my grandmother wasn't that patient, so I had to do it there and then wherever we could. But the result that I got when I did this in 123D Catch was fine. It just means that if it's not quite perfect and the lighting's uneven, you're going to have to do more work on the model to fix it up using the techniques I've shown you in other videos. The other thing to remember, of course, when taking photos for photo modeling is you want to have lots of detail everywhere. You don't want to do this in a plain room because the computer needs to recognize information in patterns and colors all around your form so that it can figure out where things are relative to each other and in perspective. So instead of using a traditional studio type setup, you actually want to be outside. You want to have even lighting, but so an overcast day is ideal, but you don't want to have a plain background because it can distort things. However, I have used that distortion in some works of mine to my advantage to create really interesting and strange results where the computer couldn't figure out what was going on with a flat area of color, and it kind of made it up. Actually, if we go to my website, you can see an example here in this model, which was done with game screenshots. There was a missing part of the mesh because that was all pink, so it managed to get the shadow of the character, but it couldn't approximate the body. So that was a really interesting mistake that turned into something good. Anyway, back to ReCap. So all you need to do is go here, create 3D object, and then you can, I think, let's try dragging these in. Might be able to do that. No, you can't do that. You have to click on that instead. Grand 2. You just open those all up. You can tell it not to use certain ones. We're actually going to say don't use that one because it was a different orientation. So they all need to be the same orientation. That one's wrong because it's a different orientation. The rest look fine. And you just go create, and it's a cloud-based system. So you have to wait for it to upload and process. So here's one I prepared earlier. You would just, once that's all finished and processed, you just download it by clicking on the arrow. Then you come to your project, and mine was already open. Usually when it opens it will look like this. This is my granddad. He actually died on the weekend, so this is nice, to a little bit of a memorial to him. I'm going to his funeral next Monday, so might not have a video next week, but I'll do my best. So here he is, old Trevor Thomas, that was his name, and you can see this is how well it's been able to approximate his geometry. So there's a bit of work to do up on the head, but everywhere else it's all right. It's not that bad, and you can see how complicated that mesh is. So you actually could get out a very decent normal map from this mesh. You'd have to obviously fill in the holes and do something with the bottom. I do show you how to do that in one of my older videos, so you can have a look at that. You can also in this software retopologize, so you can decimate the mesh. Decimate just means reduce. It's like make it simpler, and you'd go all the way down as much as possible and decimate it. Now, I mean, you can do that here, however I wouldn't do that here. I would do that in probably ZBrush now. It's much more powerful, because also it does this in a way that is more similar to Maya, in that it does this kind of triangular style where it's preserving sharpness as well. So if you did your reduce filter in Maya and you did preserve sharpness, you'd get a similar looking kind of result, and you can see that with the texture. It's fine, but I would move it into ZBrush. Of course, you'd have to make sure the UV map was correct first as well. But unlike the laser scanning, you want to have the photo data from the photo scanning, and then you can go in, of course, with Photoshop and fix up things like the errors on the neck here and other things. And of course, here's the export button. You can export the model here. You can. I always do OBJ. Easy. So simple. And that's it for ReCap.